You paid for it. You either spent over $1,000 on a brand new computer, or you paid Microsoft directly for their operating system. And the moment you turned it on, you had one reasonable expectation that this machine was yours. Not Microsoft's, yours. But here's what nobody told you when you handed over that money. And nobody told you when Windows 11 quietly updated itself on your computer last month. Microsoft has been rewriting the rules. Not loudly, not with a press conference, not with a notification you could click yes or no on. They did it silently, in a document most people never read, on a page buried inside a support website. They deleted a promise. A promise that used to say, in plain English, that Windows 11 protects your privacy by design, that the operating system itself, the foundation your entire computer runs on, was built to keep your information safe. That sentence is gone now. And if you're wondering why a giant trillion-dollar corporation would quietly erase a privacy promise from their own documentation, stick around. Because what they replaced it with tells you everything about what Microsoft is planning to do to your computer next. Welcome to Behind the Tech. I'm going to show you exactly what happened, why it matters, and, most importantly, what you can do about it right now. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you bought a house. The real estate agent handed you a brochure that said, in bold letters, "This home comes with a built-in security system. Your family is protected automatically. You moved in. You trusted that promise. And then, 3 years later, while you were asleep, the real estate company quietly reprinted all their brochures and removed that sentence. No call, no letter, no explanation. That is almost exactly what Microsoft just did. For years, Microsoft's official documentation included language stating that Windows 11 was designed to protect your privacy out of the box. That privacy protection was built into the operating system itself. It was a core part of how they marketed the upgrade from Windows 10. And then, without announcement, without explanation, they removed it. Now you might think it's just words on a web page. Who cares? Here's why you should care. And pay close attention, because this is the part most tech journalists glossed over. When a company removes a privacy protection claim from its own documentation, it's not an accident. Legal teams review every single word of corporate documentation. Privacy lawyers are expensive. Every sentence on those pages exists because someone approved it. And every sentence that disappears because someone decided it needed to disappear. The question is, why now? The answer is something Microsoft has been quietly building toward for over 2 years, and it involves something you use every single day without thinking about it, your Start menu. Click the Windows button on your keyboard right now, or imagine doing it. That grid of icons in the bottom left corner of your screen, or the center, if you're on Windows 11, is called the Start menu. It's been there since 1995. It was designed as a tool, a simple, functional tool to help you find your programs, your files, your computer settings. It was your front door. Now, Microsoft is turning that front door into a billboard. In recent builds of Windows 11, that means recent updates pushed directly to your computer, Microsoft has been testing what they call app recommendations directly inside the Start menu. These aren't recommendations for apps you already have. They are promotions for apps you've never used, paid for by developers who want Microsoft to put their product in front of you. In plain English, ads. Ads embedded inside the operating system you paid for. And here's the part that connects directly back to that deleted privacy promise. Because this is not a coincidence, and I want you to understand exactly why these two things are related. To show you a relevant ad, meaning an ad targeted to your interests, your age, your habits. Microsoft has to know something about you. They have to know what apps you use, how often you use them, what time of day, what you search for, where you live. maybe even your financial habits if they can infer them. You cannot run a targeted advertising system without data collection. It is technically impossible. So when Microsoft deleted the claim that Windows protects your privacy by itself, they were clearing the legal runway for something much bigger. They didn't just erase a sentence. They erased a promise that would have contradicted what they're building right now. And what they're building, I'll explain in the next section, is not new. In fact, you've already watched them test it once before. You just didn't realize it. There's an old saying, and I think most of you know it, about a frog in a pot of water. If you throw a frog into boiling water, it jumps out immediately. The danger is obvious. It reacts, but if you put that same frog in cool water and slowly, very slowly, turn up the heat, the frog doesn't notice. By the time the water is boiling, it's too late. Microsoft has been turning up the heat on your computer for over a decade, and most people never jumped. Think back to when Windows 10 first launched in 2015. You may remember that Microsoft gave it away for free, which, for a company that had been charging over $100 for its operating system, felt unusual. Generous even, but nothing from a trillion-dollar corporation is ever actually free. Free is just a different kind of payment plan. What Microsoft got in exchange for Windows 10 was something far more valuable than $100. They got your data. They built telemetry, a technical term for data collection, directly into the operating system. Windows 10 was, from the beginning, a system designed to report back to Microsoft. What you click, what you search, what apps you open, what you watch. Then came the Microsoft account requirement. You probably remember this friction. Windows 11, out of the box, tries to force you to connect your computer to a Microsoft account, your email, your identity, before you can even finish setup. This wasn't for your convenience. It was because a named logged-in user is exponentially more valuable to an advertiser than an anonymous one. Then came the aggressive promotion of Microsoft Edge, their web browser, over Google Chrome or Firefox. Every time you tried to open a different browser, Windows would ask if you were sure, warn you about risks, nudge you back toward Edge. Because Edge feeds data into Microsoft's advertising ecosystem. Then came Bing suggestions showing up in your start menu search bar, whether you wanted them or not. Each step, individually, felt minor. An annoyance maybe. But look at the pattern over 10 years. Free OS in exchange for data collection. Force users to create accounts. Push proprietary browser. Inject search results into the start menu. Remove privacy promise. Insert ads. This is not a series of unrelated product decisions. This is a roadmap. And if you want to understand where this road ends, you only need to look at what Microsoft has already done on a different platform. One that millions of people use every day at work. Before Microsoft turned Windows into an advertising platform, they practiced on Xbox. If you have grandchildren who play video games, or if you've ever used an Xbox console yourself, you may have noticed something peculiar. You buy the console, you pay for a game, you pay a monthly subscription, and still, the dashboard that greets you every time you turn it on is covered in ads. Ads for movies you didn't ask about. Ads for games you don't own. Promotional banners for services you already pay for. Microsoft charged you for everything and then sold your attention to advertisers on top of it. The Xbox dashboard became a template, the proof of concept, a demonstration that consumers would tolerate ads inside a paid product if the change happened gradually enough. And now that template is coming to Windows. The start menu ads currently being tested are framed very carefully. Microsoft calls them app recommendations from the Microsoft Store. They don't call them ads. The word advertisement does not appear anywhere in their documentation. This is deliberate, because if they called it what it is, a paid placement inside software you already paid for, the backlash would be immediate. Instead, they use the word recommendation as if a computer program independently decided on your behalf that this particular app would improve your life, as if there's no financial relationship between Microsoft and the developer paying to appear there. This kind of language, technically accurate but fundamentally misleading, has a long history in corporate America. And I think the people watching this channel have lived long enough to recognize it for what it is. Now, you might be asking yourself, how much data does Microsoft actually collect to make these recommendations relevant? What does Microsoft actually know about what happens on your computer? The answer is more than most people realize, and it's more than most people consented to. Here's a concept I want you to understand, because once you understand it, you'll never look at your computer the same way. It's called telemetry. Telemetry is, in simple terms, your computer sending a report back to Microsoft on a regular basis. Not once, not occasionally, continuously. Windows 11 collects data across several categories. Microsoft divides this into what they call diagnostic data. And there are two levels, basic and full. The default setting for most users, especially after a fresh install or major update, is full diagnostic data. What does full mean? It means your device sends Microsoft information about every application you run, how long you run it, when it crashes, what websites you visit in Edge, what you search for in the start menu, what hardware you have, your location, your usage patterns, your preferences across Microsoft services, and more. Now, Microsoft will tell you this data is anonymized and used only to improve the product. And they may even believe that somewhere in their communications department. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Anonymized data at scale, combined with a mandatory Microsoft account that ties everything to your specific email address, is not actually anonymous. It is a profile, a digital portrait of you, your habits, your interests, and your life. And that profile is now the foundation on which their start menu ad system is being built. Think about what that means for a moment. You sit down at your computer to pay a bill, email your grandchildren, check the news. You consider that a private act in your own home, but in the background, invisibly, constantly, your computer is filing a report about what you did, how long you did it, and what it thinks you might want to buy next. Your private home has been turned into a digital billboard without your permission. And here is where I want to pause on something important, because I've seen some people respond to this by saying, well, I have nothing to hide. And I want to address that directly. This is not about having something to hide. It's about ownership. It's about a contract. You bought a tool. You didn't sign up to be a product. You didn't agree to have your behavior monitored in exchange for using software you paid for. The premise that you must surrender your privacy in order to use your own computer is not a law of nature. It is a business decision, and it is one that you are allowed to reject. Here's what I want you to know, though, and this is the part that actually gives you power back. There are specific steps you can take right now to significantly reduce what Microsoft is collecting from you and to block the ads that are starting to appear. They're not perfect, they're not permanent, but they work today. Let's go through them. Go. The first thing you should know is that most of these settings are deliberately hard to find. They're not impossible, but they are buried. That's not an accident. Step 1, turn off personalized ads. Go to your Start menu and open Settings, then go to Privacy and Security, then go to General. You'll see an option that says, Let apps show me personalized ads by using my advertising ID. Turn that off. This won't stop all ads, but it breaks the link between your behavior and the ad targeting system. Step 2, reduce your diagnostic data. Still in Privacy and Security, go to Diagnostics and Feedback. Change your setting from full to required, previously called basic. This limits what your computer reports back to Microsoft to the minimum they claim is necessary. Step 3. Turn off activity history. In the same Privacy and Security menu, look for activity history. Make sure Store My Activity History on this device is unchecked, and make sure it's not being sent to Microsoft. Step 4. Use a local account instead of a Microsoft account. This one is the most powerful and the most technical. Microsoft actively discourages it. They make the setup process difficult and insert warnings. But a local account is simply a computer account that exists only on your machine, not connected to Microsoft's servers. It dramatically reduces the data pipeline from your computer to Microsoft's advertising infrastructure. If you want detailed steps for setting this up, drop a comment below. If enough people ask, we'll do a complete walkthrough video. Step 5. Turn off Start Menu Recommendations, go to Settings, then Personalization, then Start. You'll find an option called Show Recommendations for tips, shortcuts, new apps, and more. Turn it off. This is the most direct control over the ad-like content in your Start menu today, now, and I want to be very honest with you here. These settings buy you time. They are a delay tactic, not a permanent solution. Because Microsoft controls the operating system, they can change these settings in a future update. They can redefine what required diagnostic data means. They can introduce new categories of data collection that these toggles don't cover. Which brings us to the most important conversation in this space right now, and one that I think is worth taking seriously, even if it sounds radical. There is an alternative. I'm not going to pretend it's for everyone. It requires some patience, some learning, and the willingness to try something new. But for people who are genuinely frustrated with the direction Microsoft is taking, and based on what we've covered today, that frustration is completely justified. It deserves to be mentioned. It's called Linux. Specifically, a version called Linux Mint. Linux is a free operating system. It runs on the same computers that run Windows, and Linux Mint, in particular, was designed to look and feel familiar to people who have used Windows for years. The taskbar is in the same place. The Start menu is in roughly the same spot. File management works similarly, and critically, nobody is selling your data. Nobody is inserting ads into your desktop. You own your machine, and your machine works for you. The learning curve is real. Some software you use may not be available on Linux, and you would need alternatives. But if you're someone whose computer use involves email, web browsing, video calls, word processing, and news, and honestly, that covers the majority of what most people use computers for, Linux Mint handles all of that without issue. I'm not here to tell you to switch today. What I am telling you is that the idea that you must accept Microsoft's terms because you have no other choice is simply not true. The exit exists, it is functional, it is free. And as Microsoft's advertising ambitions grow, and they will grow, that exit is going to become more relevant, not less. Now, we've covered a lot of ground today. Let me bring it all together. Here's the conclusion I want you to walk away with, not as a tech expert, but as someone who has watched corporations make these kinds of moves for decades. What Microsoft is doing with Windows 11 is not primarily a tech story. It's a business model story. Microsoft's most profitable division for years was cloud services, Azure, Office 365, enterprise contracts. But consumer Windows, the version that runs on your personal computer at home, was always more of a legacy product. A product that hundreds of millions of people use, but that increasingly didn't have a clear revenue stream attached to it. Until now, the decision to build advertising infrastructure into the operating system is Microsoft's answer to a simple question. How do we make more money from the billion people who use Windows at home? And their answer is, sell their attention. Not their data, technically, just their attention. Just the space on their screen. Just the recommendation that appears when they click the start button. This is the same logic that turned your email inbox into a product. The same logic that made your social media feed a revenue stream for someone else. The same logic that converted free apps into surveillance instruments, and the pattern is always the same. Introduce the product as a tool, build dependency, then quietly convert the user into the inventory. Microsoft removed that privacy promise not because they were updating their documentation. They removed it because they are about to do something that the promise would have contradicted. And in corporate legal terms, a promise you've already deleted can't be used against you. That's not paranoia. That's how corporate liability management works. The question is not whether this is happening. It is happening. The question is what you decide to do with that information. You can take the steps we covered today, turn off the personalized ads, limit the telemetry, switch to a local account. That buys you meaningful protection right now. You can watch this space closely because Microsoft has additional changes in their pipeline, including deeper integration of AI features that come with their own data requirements and the expansion of their Microsoft Store advertising system beyond the Start menu. That story is coming. And when it does, this channel will be here. And if Microsoft pushes too far, if the ads become unavoidable, if the data collection becomes non-optional, if the product you paid for becomes unrecognizable, remember that the last exit is always available. Your computer is supposed to work for you. If you found this useful, if this is the kind of analysis you want more of, subscribe to Behind the Tech. No algorithms, no sponsored recommendations, just the corporate stories that affect your everyday technology told straight. We'll see you in the next one.